we're trying to together curate the ultimate feed, right? And like the way I've been thinking about it is this is almost like the ultimate like group chat for the world of like what are the links that you would send into your group chat? What are the things that you want to you don't want to get lost in like the doom scroll?
Oh yes. Can you taste the end of Q3 almost here?
End of Q3? End of Q2?
Well, beginning of Q3, right?
Q5.
Well, also the end is close too, man. Everything just seems like it's going very fast and so fast that I think people are just like, well, okay.
I know.
Cross $111,000.
Yeah, it's the quietest all-time high I've ever seen.
Yeah, just Sailor out there waving his flag, buying more at the top, so he doesn't leave any money on the table. Love to see it. Love to see it. All right, back with another very special episode of Internet Explorers. We're going to dive into all the cool shit that happened this week in the consumer crypto space, and then we're going to be joined by Mike Bodge to introduce AUX. You described it as StumbleUpon for
internet
in some way
or something. Yeah,
future sort of. Yeah, interesting. Where did you guys find that image first?
That's from like 15 years ago.
I have no idea. It's amazing though.
Somebody deep dive his Facebook or something like that to find that.
Sterling is up to something. That's right.
We love it. We love it. But it's cool. I mean, they're sort of full stack token product. Own the L3 too. I don't know what it's on. We're seeing a lot of this sort of stuff, and I think we'll get into a little bit of a discussion around the apps, app chains generally. I have some strong opinions on that. And what else are we going to get into today? We've got something called Noice taking over the Farcaster world. We're going to talk about L1s. Are they cooked? Are the assets cooked? Are you going to be wearing T-shirts for the 15th L1 or 2 out there? Some thoughts on novelty loops, something we're interested in over here. How to think about your fundraising a little bit differently. And then some big companies are doing some crazy things out there. MoviePass gets $100 million to do what? Truly to do what? Huh? So Mike will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. And well, how we doing, Peace? How's Muppet lunch?
Well, I have watermelon juice and a sourdough muffin.
What is a sourdough muffin?
I think it's actually just like an English muffin.
So not even a muffin.
It's an English, but it is a muffin.
Well, if you don't say for a muffin, then you're.
I'm pretty anti-English muffin, honestly.
Yeah. That's insane, dude. Nooks and crannies. Come on.
Bro, you can get so much good stuff on those things. You get a good toast going to it.
I get it. It just is. I'm rarely in the moment where I feel like an English muffin's the right base layer for anything.
Morning
toast. I'm more of a toast.
Have you ever had like an artisanal English muffin? Probably what Peace is eating right now.
No,
like somebody actually cared. Okay,
see, no, there is not an artisan in the world who can make an English muffin better than Bays or Thomas.
Oh, I would guarantee you you're wrong. Guarantee. I guarantee you. The fact that your mind can't even comprehend what a great English muffin is actually kind of sad to me.
No, I should go seek out a good one.
I'm a traditionalist.
You get like an eggs Benny on a artisanally made, by some hipster in Brooklyn.
They're too spongy.
Muffin. Bro, do you get a good toast on it? Not a chance.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I mean,
we're getting some sourdough insight in the comments. It's a muffin made with sourdough starter, regular muffin vibe, just with a hint of sourdough tang.
Yeah, but are we talking about English muffins here? Or are we talking about real muffins here?
It sounds like you're talking about real muffins. I'm just eating like good old fashioned Bays sourdough English muffin.
I'm a supporter of real muffins.
Do you know what's fucked up is I'm eating it dry,
bro.
Yeah, I don't know.
Raw dogging an English muffin on stream is just like quite a lot to dig in here
with cold pressed watermelon juice. So there's layers to this.
Would you hot? Yes, this is. If there are actually like legitimate muffins that are sourdough, I would 100% buy. I just never seen that before.
I'm interested. Yeah.
Send some links, y'all, in the chat. We got to dive in here.
I'm just gonna have a dry mouth for the show. So
if somebody knows of a good English muffin in Montreal, let us know, because then we can get Josh in there and change his entire perspective on life.
I'm open-minded. I just haven't come across one I've really enjoyed.
You sounded very close-minded when we started talking about this. Just to say, you sounded very, and so I'm sure that
my mind can open in a hurry.
I agree with that. You proved that out. What's going on in your world then, Josh, other than English muffins?
Oh man, kind of weather week. It honestly felt like it was November here. I just hate this time of year because you get such a tease. Like everyone's out in the parks again, drinking beer, and it's beautiful. You think summer's arrived, and then it just rains for a whole week, and you feel like it's the start of winter. So, dealing with the emotional implications of that. But
sunny here, baby. It's sunny here.
Let's go.
All right, let's jump in then.
Let's talk about
what is Noice, Josh? Because I've
Noice.
watched videos, I've read things. I actually saw it popping off on Farcaster, so I used the free money that Farcaster has given me to buy it. I think it was like $70, and now it's like $1,000. So the tech seems good. I know nothing about it.
I unfortunately didn't get any of the token, but I've been playing with the product. So yeah, I don't know the right way, like the right kind of smooth brain description of it. I guess you could kind of call it like an economic engagement product or something, but really it kind of built on top of a bunch of the more like fragmented microtransactions products that have been experimented with on Farcaster. So we had amps, which, you could basically pay people could set prices for their like retweets or likes, and you could just pay and kind of automatically get retweeted or liked from them, kind of this kind of emerging peer-to-peer ad network. And then there was also, what was it called? Tip-in or something like that, where you could kind of set up like micro payments to automatically happen anytime you liked posts. And they kind of built on top of the insights of those and kind of put it into a holistic product experience. So basically it lets any user of Farcaster configure micro tips for their organic engagement. So how much you tip a poster for a like or a recast or a comment, as well as set up access to paid engagement. So how much it costs for someone to request a like, a recast, or a comment from you. And I think what's really cool is people are able to set tips or access to be paid in any ERC20 token they want. So I saw Jacob has it set up. So every time he likes or recasts or comments on a post, it tips that person in Zora. Other people are tipping in clankers they've launched. I see people actually launching kind of like personal tokens to just use specifically for this use case. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of just a new social. So it's a cool new social distribution tool for tokens as well. So it's live on Farcaster today, getting a bunch of attention and usage. But I think they're planning on bringing it to Twitter, Zora, and some of the other emerging crypto social playgrounds. And I kind of find it interesting for a few reasons. So one is, just democratizing value exchange on the internet, and removing platforms and gatekeepers from being kind of the sole arbiters of what's valuable and being beholden to their advertising based business models, which is kind of a continued foundational promise of crypto and blockchains. Also just think it's a great use case of the open programmability and embedded payment rails of Farcasters. No other social network has really been able to do like at scale microtransactions in a seamless way like this, and I think they hacked this together in a week. So just seeing how easy it is to build kind of cool new things on top of Farcaster, I think just continues to be interesting. And then I think just the like second order effects of financializing social interactions is just going to be interesting to watch. So, on one hand, it could incentivize more thoughtful engagement and higher quality content if there's kind of direct economic potential in posting stuff people find valuable. And then, on the other hand, it could make content more performative and even more forced than it already is, kind of subtract from the intrinsic motivations of participating in social networks and just kind of further commodify social relationships on the internet. So I think they're like kind of some second order effects that are interesting here to watch. But yeah, I think just, generally we continue to be fascinated by the idea of turning social capital and belief into productive financial capital. And this is just a cool example of that.
Yeah, I mean, it is very degen coded, which is interesting. And I think, we are like looking at tips as a token distribution mechanism, I think is interesting. And I think our lessons from Enjoy and from degen are that is definitely a great way of getting a bunch of interaction and activity, but maybe the token model needs to be a little bit different. And so I think that's kind of interesting here. I'm still unclear what Noice is in the stack, but
what the token is.
Yeah, and but I not in sort of like a bad way. I think it's that it launching with a token that has immediate utility. I mean, this feels like it has immediate utility, but I'm not actually sure if the token comes into it in some way. But the token is clearly sort of like a belief token for what this team's going to go build. And so there's something about this sort of launching a belief token while also feeling like there's actually a product you can go use out there that is still very crypto native and probably easier to sort of tie those two together. Maybe they've been more explicit about how they're tying those two together, and to compare that to maybe some of the belief launches where there's more of a vibe product and a token. You go, how do these things come together in an interesting way?
Yeah,
I think they're also sort of setting up for this creator token, meme coins for individuals. I think is interesting, and I think the way that those have been launched in the past have made it a really big deal to have this token and set a lot of expectations, and I think it was definitely not a fun thing from watching people do it and considering it ourselves, I think. So yeah, it feels like it sort of hits this middle ground in an interesting way, and just this launching of a token on Farcaster and in the way they did it. I think Jesse had a good tweet out today talking about the sort of model they use, which is I think it's like the basics you should go do. But when you do it on Farcaster, there's sort of all the surface area for notifications and social proof. And when I see 72 people on Farcaster have bought this Noice token, and then I'll go in and I see 7 people I know have 10-figure or $10,000 plus bags. I go, okay, people believe in this. Easy to go to. All that context is missing generally out on needs to be pieced together out on the internet generally. So yeah, I think it's super interesting.
Yeah, they actually have on
crazy. I didn't even know about this. Having the wallet just pop up like this.
Yeah, I saw Kyle with his bags, and I was like, okay.
Kyle's always in there.
It's a Brooklyn crypto scene, man. It's just Brooklyn. That's the Farcaster scene. Hey, there I am. Look at my big bags. Hold on, go up. How much do I have in here now? There we go.
Let's go.
Let's go. $70 to 1,000K.
To the moon, baby. You gotta love those.
I mean, it's actually like outside of just kind of the attentional marketing benefits of this, launching the token and having people have a bunch of free money that they then feel like less like maybe connected to, that they're willing to just go tip people with. Like, it's actually a great way to kind of like kickstart the flywheel.
Yeah, liquidity into the whole thing. Yeah. But are you tipping Noice, or I'm just tipping any token?
You can tip whatever. I think it actually default. So I was clicking through it this morning, and it looks like a bunch of people are tipping in Noice. A bunch of they separate it into like your tips and then access, and a bunch of the access. So being able to like pay someone to request a retweet or a like. It seems like a bunch of people are using Noice to kind of gate that as well. So yeah, I have no idea what the bigger plan for the token is, or if there's some kind of economic tie-in to the success of the product, but.
Or some people having fun LPing into this token, looking at this chart. Yeah.
I mean, that was all that came to mind when I saw it. I was like, what are the APYs?
All over the place. Yeah, cool. Okay. Noice. Let's see where
it's worth checking out for sure. I think actually one other interesting piece is just the like leaning in to a full, like there are a number of people kind of running at figuring out how to better reward people for the content they create or post on the internet. And I think leaning into like full patronage, which you're doing with tipping, and just kind of watching how that evolves versus the kind of hybrid patronage speculation that like markets like Zora create, I think is another interesting piece of this.
Isn't the speculative aspect the thing that gives any value to the thing that you're tipping? How does that remove it?
But I mean, like, instead of there's one world where you coin all your content and you benefit from that by it, having some market value and earning fees or whatever, some value flowing from Zora. And then there's the other side of it where I just get tipped in, USDC or maybe some speculative token, but it's more of like a direct patronage relationship through microtransactions, like a market-based kind of earning approach.
Or earning off of fees or right. Okay.
I do have to just comment. I find this very interesting. It has been a long time since I've seen a token with a roadmap on their site. And
bearish, right?
I don't know. I don't know why Solana is last, but it's been a while since I've seen this. It's nice. I liked the launch. It was cool. They came out
Can you,
swinging here.
can you go up for a sec?
Yeah. Let's take a look.
Just the creator token thing. I just want to see what they said. TK is burned each time people request his like, call, follow, or comment. I do actually think so on every profile in the product, there's like a CTA where you can get notified when they launch their token. So it seems like the kind of creator tokens are building these like microeconomies around people, or I think I saw someone call it like social network states or some network state language around people. I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Tipping people in Josh just seems funny to me.
Right, but
It doesn't feel like I'm launching a social token that I need to go
that's the question though,
value.
right? Is how do you launch it in such a way, right? Like, and so I think if they can find a pathway to do that, that's maybe constrained in some way. I mean, yeah, it's like what is the social context that makes it comfortable for me to go launch a personal token? And it does feel like it needs to be scoped down significantly. Right. So maybe like that, the walled garden, not the right word here, but like the context that a product can create might actually create that freedom.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing it with like time.fun on Solana. Like
right.
Those are all social tokens. They look like, if you're on Deck Screener, they look like social tokens, but
right.
people are doing them because they're these access tokens to their time. And I think if these kind of evolve into access tokens for, the attention or distribution someone has, I think there's some plausible deniability that you're launching a creator coin or like a meme coin associated to yourself.
Well, I do think of like products or networks that are able to create a lot of economic activity around a creator's work will be in the better position to go and create these sort of creator tokens.
Totally.
I'm not sure I fully grok what that model is here for Noice, but intrigued. Good launch video.
Great launch video.
Yeah. All right.
Nice.
We move on?
Yeah, let's jump to this. Matt Huang. How do you say that?
Yes,
Wong?
sure.
Wong.
Matt
Wong.
Tweet. We're going to spend our time on.
Fuck. Someone tell us how to say this. Yeah, so I guess early this week, for some reason, there was a bunch of just more L1 revenue conversation, and I think Matt had a couple good tweets around it. So, yeah, really, what he said here is you can believe GDP and rev are important, while also disbelieving that a DCF is the right way to value the native asset of an L1. And his view ultimately is that L1 assets are competing to be money. So, usable, productive assets within the economies of their chains. And ultimately, it's the monetary demand for it that's much more important than the long-term value of their revenue. And I think it's kind of bang on and very in line with how we've been thinking about it, because I think the big risk for L1 assets is that every app that reaches any level of scale launches their own token, denominates their markets in their app token, and it becomes a unit of account or digital money that people care about, and not the infrastructure token. And I think if you kind of just think about what the economic, and I have no idea what this answer is, but like what would be the economic impact on Sol when Pump Fund launches their token and denominates all their markets in it. And I think you like kind of have to assume that power laws are going to exist at the app layer on all these chains, and a few killer products are going to drive the majority of transactions. And I think you also have to assume that they're going to launch a token and denominate their markets in their token, because it's going to make a lot of economic sense to do so. So when that happens, like, are L1 assets primarily money just for like the long tail of products that exist there? Like what ends up happening? And I think obviously Bitcoin is broken out of the store of value. I do think Ethereum and Solana have grown into large enough economies that their assets are operating very money-like and will probably continue to. But I do wonder about the kind of long tail of chains coming down the line. And, if like the opportunity to be money-like as an L1 asset has kind of left, just like the opportunity to be the store of value probably has.
Yeah, that's interesting framing. I think it would seem fairly absurd to go take on Bitcoin, and yet, people don't look at like the L1, L2 space for programmable money as like a one space yet. Maybe there's a big prize at the end of it. But yeah, I very much agree that the landscape has changed, and I think a lot of investors are going to be offside of that because we actually don't have many really great examples of of apps that are powerful enough to actually fully vertically integrate economics and tech. But we have some, and I think more are coming. And yet all of the sort of gains over the last 2 years has probably been made off of the L1, Alt L1, L2 trade. People, I think, will just assume that's going to continue, and yet I think we've talked a lot about it on the show about sort of the down only in many of these markets, etc. So, and I think we talked maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. Jacob had a great post on. He defined the term as quote pairs, which is this dynamic where these apps are able to actually, if they're originating new assets and transactions, you can denominate those markets in the Zora token or whatever token you sort of want to launch. And I think the important point there is sort of this idea that there is, store value, medium of exchange. If you unbundle money, store value, medium of exchange, and unit of account. And the unit of account piece seems to be the thing that's less talked about here, and I think is very relevant to the consumer opportunity. But I think this whole discussion came out of just like the absurdity of how little fees many of these chains are actually charging, and then the sort of responses from the people at those protocols or L2s talking about the intention behind it. So Celestia being a big one, right? $300 in fees. And yet they would argue that's very much part of their strategy to kind of be like the default DA layer. So, I mean, it's just like an ongoing debate. Like, are blockchains countries or are they businesses? And likely a very small number will be sort of valued like economies or countries, and the rest will probably need to be valued closer to businesses. Or maybe the better way to say that is just to actually, I was talking to a builder / investor earlier this week, and they said, yeah, it's either, I think these L2s either need to go become L1s or they need to go figure out a different business.
Right.
And of course, all of this is on the backdrop of, Ethereum making this quote unquote pivot to focus on scaling the L1 again. And I think that's led to a bunch of builders looking at the L1 as a place to deploy right now. And my take is probably very bullish Ethereum if they're able to get some traction on it, but also it sort of calls into question a lot of the assumptions both around scaling and value flow and accrual, etc. So I expect this will be a conversation that will be ongoing for a while, and I'm not sure it's going to have a whole lot of impact on much, actually. The reality is sort of rocking and rolling right now.
I'm just glad we're having this conversation because clearly the long tail of change should not be valued at what they're getting valued at right now. So the faster that unwinds and more money flows to the consumer, the faster I'm going to be happy.
Well, I mean, I think all of those teams, regardless of whether they've been in business for 10 years or 10 months, know that the killer consumer crypto app is what they need. I think what they're less aware of is that if they have the killer consumer crypto app, that app is probably not going to need them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're seeing it. I think we were talking before. I don't know the specific stats, but we did an investment into Kamagachi, which it runs on their own app chain on Initia called Yamanet, and the fees generated from that game with a relatively small number of users are still greater than many of your favorite multi-billion-dollar protocols out there. So we can see this sort of experiment live happening in front of our eyes.
100%. All right, let's jump to novelty loops. Jess, maybe I'll let you introduce this one because you sent it over. And I know it's one of your favorite graphics.
Well, this just added a couple more loops to a novelty loop. So one of the things I think we talked about this last week as well, just trying to take in those moments of testing conviction, which I think for sane people happen at least quarterly in crypto, if not more often. I think really trying to get to a clear, like where have I made mistakes in the past, and how do I sort of see the world moving forward so I can make better decisions moving forward. And I think one of those is determining whether between two types of investments you can make in crypto. One is what I think we call the novelty loops. It's sort of usually along the bottom axis here, that as time goes on, because of the speculative nature of crypto, there's always going to be a new thing to go bet on. Right? We like speculation. Novelty drives speculation. People are going to try to do new things. The challenge is thinking that novelty or speculation loop is actually something more than that, right? So you see a lot of teams think they have product market fit, and then realize, oh, actually people were just speculating on this asset type for a very short period of time, and it, so maybe that's OpenSea, maybe that's, there's plenty that are out there. And so there's a difference between projects that are launching in a novelty loop and probably really great businesses, which are ones that get to compound over time. And so I think there's, this idea that the best businesses in crypto are ones that are able to play across N+1 novelty loops into the future. So that's why L1s have been valuable. That's why exchanges have been valuable. And that's why investors have made a bunch of money. And so these novelty loops might be social tokens, NFTs, AI agents, whatever the next thing is. But what I loved about this post was sort of like the recognition that here's this sort of speculative narrative, which is, let's call it, what do they call it?
InfoFi.
So cool, guys. InfoFi. And that like within one of those novelty loops, there is sort of this order of operations that actually looks very similar, right? Or like these other similar loops, which is like, oh, Kaido's working. Cookie.fun's going to come out and sort of, take a piece of that market, reposition that narrative and come out. And so the big question is like, do these things have that sort of dynamics that actually allow them to participate across multiple of these loops, or are they solely based in this narrative loop? And so I think just it's sort of like a shorthand of looking at like, okay, what type of opportunity are we looking at here? And then what is the likelihood or the possibility of this sort of narrative opportunity right now that we would say has a short shelf life to actually extend beyond that? And then, maybe even looking at this and saying, okay, well, if we start to see other projects kind of come into that, maybe that extends the longevity of this novelty loop in some way. So I thought it was interesting, an interesting visualization of how these sort of markets start to develop. No comment on whether these, images are the right way to describe that, or
yeah. Do we like InfoFi? What's your take on InfoFi? I don't even know what it means, honestly. I had a pitch this week with someone who was talking about themselves as an InfoFi project, and I was like, "What is that?"
I think it's cringy shit to use that word, and I think it's like anybody being like SocialFi or InfoFi, especially in the first few slides, kind of like, I mean, I don't know. We need some anchoring, I guess, to make sense of these deals. There's obviously a lot of value in these projects being able to sort of define themselves and create a bit of a laddering effect as far as positioning. But I don't know. Again, it's probably a good way to describe a novelty loop. Is there like a big business to go build there on its own? I don't know, but I don't think any of these teams are sort of looking at like this idea of the InfoFi speculation as like the core thing they're going to do.
No,
but yeah, I mean, it's probably a much bigger category too than these types of projects, right? We think about, yeah, I don't know whether Noice would fit into here in a certain way.
I was thinking that too. I think it probably does, or at least maybe not mainly into term, so like InfoFi, but you can draw a pretty clear parallel between Noice and Kaido, for example, right? It's like rewarding people for their mind share and distribution.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. These terms are all cringe, so I disavow all of them.
Yeah, they're just completely unuseful. Yeah.
Cool. Do we want to get? No, let's get into. We got Mike here with us, right?
Yeah, let's get Mike up.
What's up?
Did you see the picture we used on the graphic?
Yeah, that was like, thank you for using that picture.
You're welcome.
That was several years ago. That dog is long dead.
That's what I was worried about. I'm like, this guy's got a picture of his dead dog.
Yeah, that's my dead dog. Thanks for bringing it up. I got lighter hair now, let's just say.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I think we had you out a while back kind of teasing some stuff, working on some stuff, and now we're seeing you're live, baby.
I'm live. Yeah, we went live on Monday. So it's been a week. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's been fun to see like what people have been posting and how people have been receiving it, or even just like what people's mental model for what this thing is. Because for me, it's a certain thing, but everybody I talk to has like a different like idea of like what this can be and like what it will become. So yeah, super excited.
Nice. Well, why don't you give us the high level pitch here, and then I would love to.
A high level pitch. Okay. Yeah. So AUX is the aux cord for the internet. Okay. And it's basically like we're trying to together curate the ultimate feed, right? And like the way I've been thinking about it is this is almost like um, the ultimate like group chat for the world of like what are the links that you would send into your group chat? What are the things that you want to you don't want to get lost in like the doom scroll, the things that are kind of evergreen and the most interesting stuff to you. And you post them to Aux, and Aux is kind of like a market where we all look at the stuff and we decide like what is the most interesting things and vote them. It's sort of like a curation market where we're creating the ultimate feed. And so the thing with the most upvotes or the thing that gathers the most attention takes the aux and it takes over the front page of the app and the website. So it's like a living, breathing site of kind of digesting all the URLs on the internet.
And how long is it? Is it like a daily competition to be the top voted site, or is it's a higher frequency than that, right?
It is so something can have the aux for up to 4 hours. So
Okay.
yeah, we kick you off after you've taken too much time. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, so links are live for 48 hours. They get voted on for 48 hours. They're forever in your like internet playlist on your profile. But they exist within the competition in the curation market for 48 hours. Yeah. Yeah, we have you can kind of filter through the content in a couple different ways. There's like kind of inspired by Pump, the last thing that happened. There's the live feed. But then there's like you can look at the hottest stuff. So that's like the things that have the most upvotes or winners and leaderboard. And it's all powered. It's all on chain. It's all it's like using yeah. It's all going through a smart contract that controls the whole feed. Every upvote is you sending someone an attention token. It costs 5 attention to post something. So it's like I think a lot of, and maybe this is kind of the theme for the show, is that like a lot of stuff is circling around this idea of how important and how valuable attention is. And this is my attempt at the first attempt at like an attention app within this attention economy that I'm ecosystem that I'm creating.
Yeah, can you talk more about your, I guess, decision? So it's funny when I think I reposted it and I was scrolling through like the comments on your initial post, and a lot of people were like, when token, of course.
Yes. Yeah.
And the funny thing is that there is a token. It's just very much not like the focal point of attention.
Yes. Yeah.
So do you want to talk about that decision a bit, and maybe if you're thinking on whether it eventually will be, or if it's always just kind of
yeah, I don't know if I'm doing this hard mode or not, but I'm doing this because I wanted to hide all of the crypto. Like, this is not, to me, a crypto app. I had this idea for this site like 7 years ago. I like wrote it down and I was like, I want to make a site where everyone can figure out what is the one thing that I need to know about the internet, like that's going on at any moment. Like I wanted to make an app that does that, and there was no like mechanism to like incentivize people to make that happen. So like it kind of just sat in my back pocket for forever. This is an app that uses crypto. It's not a crypto app. It's not a speculative app. It's not something that there's a big chart and you're speculating on each post or whatever. This is something like when you sign up, you get 100 attention to play with. It goes into your wallet. You never see a pop-up. You never see wallet. You never see addresses mentioned. So we give you some tokens to start with, and then the idea is that you build up your stack as you use the app. So we want the people that are using the app to not be speculators. We don't want them to go buy a big stack on Uniswap and then manipulate the game or whatever. We want people the people that have the most stake in this are the people that have been playing it the longest and who are really invested in it. So next week we're going to be like dropping some tokens to people that have been using the app over the last week. So the longer you play and the more you play, the more you're incentivized. The more you'll be growing, your mind share in the app.
Nice. So tell us about how the launch went. Like, are you happy with the amount of usage you got? Any kind of surprising behavior? Anything you clearly feel like you need to change now?
Definitely there's well, so there's the website and there's the iOS app. Some like some things of like just like product wise of like what screens people see first and stuff. I'm messing around with, but the thing that kind of like you don't need to post to this thing, and it's weird because this could work for like breaking news, right? Like it could be like, okay, this happened. This will get so it automatically gets uploaded, and you imagine like let's say like the Sam Altman Johnny Ive thing that happened yesterday. You imagine a jump like a world where that this market is like breaking news and things pop up, and that will still work with this system. But the things that people have been posting are more like evergreen content. It's not so much like of the moment memes. It's like deep cuts. It's things that are rabbit holes. People are posting PDFs of like really obscure like witchcraft stuff, or like there's lots of like music and DJ mixes and art stuff. And I think that's kind of like the first, maybe it's the first cohort of people that are interested in this kind of thing, the people that signed on. Like we're on Internet Explorers right now. Like this is like an Internet Explorer kind of app. And like I invite like Internet Explorers to come check this out and fuck with it and post on it. But I don't think it's limited to that. I think that's kind of like the cohort, or that's the vibe that's right now. And the people that are signing up for the app, they're like, they kind of get the assignment. They like look around and they go, "Oh, cool. If I got the aux cord to this party, what would I like? What would I post, or what would I share?" You don't want to show up and play something stupid. So yeah, it's been interesting just to see like the level of curation and it feels like almost like it's like a taste marketplace that's kind of evolving into.
Yes, I just got a PDF uploaded there. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah. So every link has like a chat room as well, which is kind of fun. So like you kind of go deep and chit chat about stuff like that first.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah. So you can pop that open. Yeah.
So,
you never know what you'll find.
This is an important one. Bill, this is the PDF I just posted. Was the Bill Buxton one. So if you ever worry that things are taking too long, go read Bill and realize that innovation takes a very, 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 very long time, and then just happen overnight.
I'll read that. That's a good as a founder. I need to.
I mean,
keep that in mind.
I think it was published in 2015. Yeah, look at this. I'm on up, baby. Let's go. So, Mike, help me understand how you think about like the business opportunity here or the economic model that you're building here, because there is sort of, I think there is this really interesting expansion, I guess, of token models in certain ways, and it's kind of coming around this stablecoin-esque type of model, and I think Blackbird being maybe a prime example of a type of model that people continue to underestimate, I think. And so there's sort of like clear value flowing through that ecosystem, but it's not about the speculative value of like the points or tokens that you're getting here. But I'm curious, sort of, you see a few turns of this, or how you're orienting yourself here from a business perspective.
Yeah, I think that for me, like I want to create a site or like an app ecosystem that has value, that in itself, like it has value to participate in, right? So when we're talking about like the actual token and stuff, like I mean, I've imagined these as like arcade tokens, as like I want to use these apps, and I'm going to create going to create apps that people want to be getting tokens, accumulating tokens, so they can use them and participate in that ecosystem. So for me, like I think we've seen a lot of success with like ecosystems that do well with like fees and have lots of like throughput to do that. So that's certainly one. I think right now we give you some tokens to start, and I base how I think about a lot of these things on my daughter using Roblox, and how she's, you come in, you play the game, and then if you want to really play the game, like you start to bang on the in-app purchases, and you start to use that to really expand. Like you go deep, and then you go deeper with the wider thing. So all the types of apps I make, like I don't know if you guys remember the button that I made a couple months back, where like all the apps I make are in this vein of like internet, like attention machines, I call them. So like the company started 4DHD, it's like play on ADHD, but 4 dimensions is like all the things I'm making are going to be powered by this token and live in this ecosystem, and it's just going to be all things that are this. There we go. Look at that thing. Look at the internet attention machine. Yeah, that like so like driving. I think driving usage of the token there, and just giving opportunities for that to power these experiences.
Let's go. I'm just over here clicking buttons.
Like, is the what's the chain called, or like ecosystem called, that you're building?
It's attention.
Attention.
Yeah.
And is how are you thinking about, I guess, kind of like the broader go to market around the ecosystem? Like, is the play, are you just going to kind of keep building great examples of these internet attention machines, and then eventually kind of the ecosystem opportunity unlocks and you allow other people to come build in, or are you like actively trying to, pull in other developers who have a similar vision?
Definitely. That's the long-term goal. The first thing is to build some of these experiences and yeah, like get people excited about this idea of like kind of internet tools or internet. I think of these all as games. Like AUX is a game. It's like I'm posting links and stuff, but essentially it is a like internet arcade game. Like you're playing something. I guess all social networks are in a sense a game. These are all like kind of like the way that I think about them is they're like real time games that like they're all like extremely like 100% internet. They're like internet culture kind of really building ecosystem based on like that specific point of view, and like everything I make will be like this because that's what I've always done my entire life, is make stuff like this. So that's the idea, is just like keep expanding and keep on building things that and building this audience of people that mess with my stuff.
Got it. How are you thinking about kind of scaling usage of this product? I think playing with AUX, like, this product is sick, feels great, already discovering cool links, but like everything, it's like way more voters and way more sharers would just make the experience that much better. So how are you thinking about scaling the usage?
Going on the Seed Club podcast, keep on banging social media. I think there is a carrot with the token that so next week, like every week, I think we're going to be like dropping more tokens to more people that continue to use the thing, and just kind of just constantly just like building and like keeping people engaged and inviting, like creating invite systems and just doing all the things that have always worked for all these social apps. Just keep on keeping my head down and making the product better and talking about it and hoping that people stick around.
I think it's always a good sign when the founder is at the top of the leaderboard, but a bunch of people who are actually fairly close.
I'm trying not to kill everybody on this. It would look bad. I mean, Elon is a top poster on Twitter, so I mean.
Oh yeah, 100%. You gotta be the cult leader here, Mike.
You gotta be the guy. Yeah. Maybe I'll stop posting or have an alias or something. But yeah, today we launched profiles. So like, if you go to my profile, if you click on my name, go to profile. Wow, look at that. Look at me. Who's that guy? Who's that dog? God damn. I have her ashes in the other room. I can bring them in here.
No, we're good. It's close enough touch point for that, I think.
Look at that. Jeez.
Oh man.
That was me.
What type of music were you into when that picture was taken, Mike?
That was Williamsburg, 2007. So that
Okay.
was peak Bloghouse. That was. I think I just met my wife. We went to a Justice concert for our first.
That's
It's like OG Justice, not like
yeah.
and that was
Oh,
a while
that's
ago.
awesome.
That was a long ass time ago.
Well, I'm glad we could blast from the past with you here.
Yeah. Thank you for.
I mean, I think as Mike is saying here, there's a bunch of reasons to go and try Ox today. There's some attention tokens coming your way if you're an early user of it, and yeah, people show up every day and are posting cool stuff here. I found a bunch of deep cuts that I haven't seen in a long time, and there's still a lot of room to be a standout curator. So it's ox.xyz if you're here and you have yet to experiment with this, and then make sure you give Mike a follow because dude likes to build cool things and then share it. You get to be early.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anything else you want to leave people with?
No, you just wrapped it up. Yeah. Please
Doing the sales pitch
check
for
it
you.
out, post some stuff, upload some stuff, and yeah, like shape the feed. I think we're trying to create the ultimate. What is the ultimate algo? And I think it's human. It's humans taking all the algo stuff and being like, no, actually this. It's like watching a DJ press play versus going to at a club rather than listen to a Spotify playlist. So like what are real people? So sorry for.
This is a safe space. You can be yourself, Mike.
Thank you.
Yes, Twitter algorithm still loves that. So awesome, man. Well, thanks for hopping on. I'm going to go. I feel like it's funny because I feel like I want to show up with really good links here, and I think rather than top timely or relevant, right? So not pressure, but I think like it's just I'm assuming that there's some 0 to 1 building of my social capital here, and that some of these things will be foundational in setting that profile up.
The pressure is being taken off here. Like, look at this.
Yeah, I mean, this onchain forever.
Honestly, this is like the ultimate like tool for this show because like Peace doesn't need to go do any of the hard work. He can just scroll through Ox and internet.
It's so true.
I need to find this.
You productize our job. It's amazing.
There you go. This is like I said on Twitter. This is IRL Ox, basically the show.
Peace. Where did you find that golfers died link? Because I need to.
Golfer dies.
That's on my Ox. If you go,
it is. Yeah. Go to Mike's profile. Golfer dies after rat urinates on him. Could happen to anyone. Don't let it happen to you.
A legitimate fear of mine. Like, I play golf because it's I'm not going to break a knee or something like that. But getting peed on by a rat and then
dying.
This is criminally undervalued. It's only 12 likes on it, so we're going up. And this is getting shared to the group chat, the golf group chat.
Like, is there a potential, like, if we go all vote that rat dying or the guy dying because rat pees on him video, can it retain the Ox, or is it too old already?
I think that one's too old, but you would give me attention for finding it. I think now we're realizing that like the curation of the internet is more important than the content you create in a lot of ways. So like rewarding me for finding a golfer rat piss video. I would appreciate your attention.
Well, the group chat is getting my golfing group chat is getting just like a completely contextless link sent to them right now. So
it's important evergreen content. That is on the base blockchain for the rest of eternity.
And we'll never be able to leave.
We'll never be able to leave as long as Jesse's alive.
All right, man. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Thanks, guys.
Best of luck.
Appreciate it.
Seeing what's next. Oh my God.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Ciao.
See you, Mike.
Good stuff.
The depths of the internet. Visualized. I love it. All right. We got a couple other topics we can get into here.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do the first 40 months. So this was an interesting post from Michael Dempsey, like founder of Compound, the investment firm. And he's really like making the case for why founders today actually need to like hypothesize and model their like first 2 rounds of fundraising milestones. So looking out he talks about looking out 40 months instead of kind of just like the heads down sprinting to the next one that has kind of been common startup building wisdom of the past few decades. And he talks about how it's because of all the uncertainty that AI is introducing into the technology landscape and how much capital it's attracting. This like traditional stepwise path to fundraising where you raise a pre-seeded MVP and a seed at early commercialization and a series A at scaling is kind of just like no longer how investors are actually approaching the market. And it's much more kind of like momentum and narrative driven and hype cycle based as it's ever been. And they're willing to pile money into things that are hot and on narrative. It's, AI, American dynamism, L1s, and are kind of reluctant to touch things that aren't hot, even if they're steadily growing. So it's much more of this kind of like binary, like have not decision versus this like the evolving gradient of kind of de-risking that has kind of defined startup building the last couple of decades. So yeah, he kind of thinks founders need to take longer term views to just be able to better adapt and iterate as market dynamics and, sentiment and the landscape evolves. And he kind of finishes with this quote where he says, today, at a time in which a small subset of companies are garnering the vast majority of dollars, it's important to recognize that in most cases, founders can no longer sprint with their heads down, pop up, and mildly adjust the story and metrics in the quarter prior to a fundraise. So thought it was an interesting perspective. Curious what you think of it.
Well, I think it's another post that sort of calls into question just like this factory mindset of VC for the last while, especially the early stages. Like, it is crazy to me. I mean, it's not crazy, but it is crazy how many other accelerators or early stage investors truly only look at their job as packaging up pre-seed deals into seed. And it feels like there's a strategy that's playing to the game that has been, which is right. We get in early enough. I know who my seed buyers are. Let me go shape and package this up for seed, and then I'm not. Don't worry about it. And I think that's like not the most useful for the founder or for the business ultimately, but probably the most useful for the investor. And so I think a lot of the sort of feedback or advice comes through that lens. And I think what Michael's sort of pointing out here is that, well, this landscape is actually changing under our feet right now, right? Like there's a lot of questions around where value will flow, how to value these sort of things, how broadly, especially with AI, what happens at the pre-seed or early stages? Does it become more difficult or impossible to fund or unnecessary to fund?
Right.
And so I think all these things are really shifting the venture landscape. And I think Michael's approach here really trying to say, listen, you're in control. You need to be swimming in the river actively rather than sort of just trying to stand on the side and then jump in and out again. And all the things that we talk about, this idea of momentum management being a core thing, right? Where you are trying to grow fast, but not too fast, and definitely not too slow. And there's probably a sweet spot there, both from a fundraising perspective, a user acquisition perspective, and probably even just a figuring out what you're doing, especially in crypto. I mean, I think so many of these dynamics are being talked about now because they're hitting the broader market, but are very much the realities in crypto, right? You think about like the nature of many smart contracts being open source, easily forked. Looks a lot like vibe coding. Can get my app up in a weekend, and then I can kind of start making money right away. And both of those call into question sort of the fundamental valuation of these assets or these businesses. And I think we should expect that the way that things have been done for the last 15 years probably won't persist in the exact same way going forward. And I think if you dip your head into the VC landscape right now, what you'll see is just a lot of people trying to figure out what the lay of the land is. We're seeing later stage funds coming, earlier stage. We're seeing a lot of funds struggle to fundraise, especially given just the tariff dynamic that has impacted a bunch of institutional investors. You have people trying to ask the question like, well, how do I go back this team, this founder, when this app might only exist for 6 months and I only own a piece of it? So there's all these sort of refiguring out, I guess, of what's going on. And so I thought this was a great post. And the takeaway for me is just like, if you feel like you're being pulled into the factory system, try to step back a little bit and think what's best for you and for your business.
Yeah, I feel like so much.
It is so repackaging, man. It's just like, I mean, we talk to some of these investors, and they're basically like, I don't give a fuck. Like literally 100%. Those words. I do not care what's happening. All I care about is packaging this up and moving forward. And that just seemed like I don't know, just a depressing way to go do. Like, why are you doing early stage investing if you don't care about the dreams these people are building? And you're just like, I would, if somebody comes around, if I was an early investor in Facebook and then I never get to go, like, I don't care about or talk about Facebook ever again. Like, what a missed adventure to be a part of, man.
I mean, that's the annoying thing for me, right? Is like ultimately like the things that get funded or the things that get built and what gets built defines our internet experience, and everyone is just funding SaaS and L1s, and here we are, right? Here we are.
Fun. Yeah. It's a good post.
Worth reading. Yeah.
I mean, I think anything that Compound is just such a very thoughtful. I mean, they're an example of a firm that really does not participate in this sort of factory system, and so shout out to them.
Nice. Let's jump to brand coins. So we've obviously talked about this a bunch, but I just think people need to start really getting comfortable with the idea of tokens being a really interesting way to kind of take the goodwill of brands public, because it's gonna just keep happening. Equity.
It's cool.
It's because it's cool and it's great, and it efficiently captures social and cultural value in ways that equity just doesn't. So yeah, I think really thinking about equity capturing the economic potential of a business, and tokens capturing the social and cultural potential of the brand. And I think we've talked about Pangu and Zora as kind of recent examples of this model, but yeah, totally. But Rect, I think, is also worth looking at. And OSF, just the founder of Rect, shared a post this week kind of talking about the brand, the history of it, and how the token ultimately fits into their plans. And I think it's very worth reading and going through, because I think it captures this essence well. So Rect started as a free mint NFT project for traders and degens, kind of found good fit as a community. And then they decided to launch a drink brand kind of off the backs of the emerging brand and community and kind of sense of identity that they were seeing within the community. And they then gave 10% of equity of the company to NFT holders, which I think is cool. They then sold 250,000 drinks in their first drop, raised some angel money, and then launched their Rect token. And they're now rewarding buyers with their token, performing buybacks with drink revenue. And the token, I think, is trading at like $100 million FDV today. And I think the really important thing to recognize here is that the reason this opportunity exists and it's working is because they're actually building something people want to be a part of. And he has a quote in the post where he says, Rec Brands is a brand that encompasses a range of ideologies, including aggressive risk-taking, degeneracy, and the ability to survive even when you're down bad. Rec drinks are the tangible engine to the brand, but like Red Bull or Monster Energy, Rec is more than just a drinks company. It's a way of life. So that, like the token is kind of capturing the resonance of the brand, the sense of identity and belonging it provides, and the desire to be a part of an adventure. And I think it's important to just like note how different this feels in the majority of like Believe tokens, because a SaaS product is just never going to be able to effectively run this strategy, because there's no goodwill, there's no social, cultural, mimetic value. These like kind of mimetic tokens are not a good way to capture the business potential of these projects, unless they're very determined to do that and figure out the right structures to do that. But I think the idea of like the token being taking your brand public, and the equity being the thing that actually captures the cash flows and kind of business potential of the product is the right kind of mental framing for thinking about a lot of these.
I mean, this is so much of what we token buyers get to speculate on is defined by what the legal structures are that allow founders to feel comfortable launching those tokens in the first place. And we've talked about this sort of company token model in a number of ways, and I think through the Zora conversation. But I think just to land the point, like the idea of being able to launch a token that has zero tie-in to anything, falls into the sort of meme coin. Trump gave you a blueprint on how to go launch a meme coin in a way that still leaves a lot of value for the project launcher, and is, I guess, assumed legal now. And the sort of interplay between the revenues and economic value and the equity and these tokens are ones that I think have yet to really fully be explored, but we're starting to see the early examples. And the buybacks that they're talking about here are small, right?
Yeah, they're not large. 100K buybacks or something,
right? And so, but I think from a narrative perspective, it clearly sticks. And I think it goes back to something that we deeply believe in, which is you got to build something people want to be a part of. Like that is the tie into the brand value and the just the vibe, whatever you want to, word you want to use there, is the reason somebody is buying and holding a token. And I think actually creates a probably a more valuable relationship in many ways. And so I think like coming out and being very honest and transparent and real about it, I think is also a thing that Rect has done a very good job of here, and again builds that type of connection with people, I think. So we should get them on. I think would be an interesting chat.
For sure we should.
We'll do that. Yeah. Nice. Was there another link to this one? I didn't. It was the same one. It was just, it was the same thing. Okay, so let's just finish on this one. What the fuck is happening with MoviePass, Josh? Did you actually dive into this? MoviePass gets $100 million to do what?
Not really. It's just hilarious that this like failed, like, completely failed product. Basically, what MoviePass is trying to do is like a subscription product for movie going, and
Worked
somehow
really well for a little while.
Somehow, I mean, it worked great for the consumer. Like somehow they thought a $10 a month subscription for unlimited movie going experience is going to make business sense, and clearly it ended up not making business sense, and they went bankrupt. But now they somehow raised, I don't know exactly the structure of the fundraising. It sounds like it's kind of milestone based, so they didn't just get $100 million, but okay. $100 million is like earmarked for the projects, assuming they hit some milestones. And they're building, sounds like they're building some like fantasy movie mogul, kind of tied to like real box office results. So kind of in the way that fantasy sports, maybe like fantasy top for,
I love it,
kind of like social engagement. They're building a similar product for people who really care about movies, I guess.
You basically create your own studio by picking real movies, real actors, real directors, and the way those projects behave in the real world, and your ability to pick and predict what might happen impacts your scoring. So it is fantasy. Yeah, it's actually way cooler than I thought by reading the headline.
It's like Rotten Tomatoes, but sports betting, but fantasy sports Rotten Tomatoes.
The game allows people to predict box office results, per screen averages, sentiment scores, and award success for films while assuming the role of studio executive. So I think this is interesting, right? Because it's like allowing people to step into a job that has a ton of social capital around it, and can be really fun from the outside, but probably actually really sucks or is a lot more difficult on the inside, and just do it in a pure fantasy fun way.
Yeah. I mean, Michael Orwitz makes it sound pretty fun.
Yeah, but my guess is if you worked with him and or against 100%. Him, you would not have that feeling.
100%. I mean, I think the reality is, I think movie nerds are probably a very underserved audience. Like, what do you do right now? You like vote on IMDb and like watch Netflix or something like that. Yeah. This seems like
prediction market for movies alone is super interesting. And I think it creates a pretty big design space. I mean, the guys I play golf with are all F1 fans for some reason. That's kind of cool, I guess. Yeah, I mean, sure, but I think actually a big part of their fandom is this fantasy sports app that's very popular there, right? And also it is like a sport that gives, like, you can just buy the subscription that gives you like every view from every, like, you just a ton of data and a ton of stuff coming in. So there's almost you feel like you're getting the live feed right in. So yeah, that's kind of fun. I realized in I've been playing Poly Market with the NHL. I think if you just bet on Florida, you're probably going to do pretty well. Not financial advice, but working for me. The crazy thing is how much of a delay my stream has compared to the real game. So I'll be sitting there looking at Poly Market.
You see the market change, and then
the market change it. And it's like, oh shit, Edmonton just scored, and then boom, it happens. And it's literally like 2 to 3 second delay, which I guess makes sense and everything. But I'm like, God damn, if I actually want to like try to, like, how are these guys all front running me? It's like, oh right, they actually get.
Yeah, you can't high frequency trade Poly Market with your current setup.
Yeah, it's really not the winning combination for myself, that's for sure. I put MoviePass. I mean, kind of cringe that they put $100 million as the headline to try to be cool. They can just come up with a cool app, and
so true.
I mean, this makes me trust it a lot less, I guess, would be the point. And it's in variety too, which is funny too.
They're probably going to overdo it.
I guess it's relevant.
I do feel, like on a consumer level, who the hell doesn't want to pretend to be an exec? Often. It's a way better headline. You're telling me I'm a Hollywood exec now? I don't even have to move to California.
Can I sign up? Can I sign up for this thing?
Not sure.
Let's see. Yeah, Mogul by MoviePass. The first fantasy. I'll drop it in the chat here, please.
It's live, or you can like
It's
wait.
not live. I think it's a. Bring this up. It's got so many red flags in it already. Oh man.
This looks like an AVAX NFT project.
Well, wait, just scroll down a little bit. It's a Sui NFT project.
Oh shit!
I think
What's going on here?
I saw another.
Oh, it literally is a Sui. It literally is by Sui.
So it's all just coming soon. I guess you can. No, you can't even do much to it. Oh, my beta. All right, let's get this beta going here.
Okay.
What other big brand announced? Was it F1? Did
Crypto,
F1 announce?
maybe cryptocurrencies?
Wasn't Pokemon doing something?
I think F1 announced something with AVAX around maybe a similar kind of like fantasy sports type
sponsors of that for a while. That's interesting. I think it is so weird to me that if you're trying to build a consumer application that you think people would give a shit, Animoca, MoviePass, and Sui back this stuff. And I saw another one the other day when somebody actually raised at $100 million valuation from these people. I don't know. It's such a negative signal.
Like consumer landing page. Yeah, 100%.
100% on the landing page, backed by XYZ and on people. It's like, okay, so who are you actually trying to target here?
Token buyers.
Yeah, totally. That's too bad.
Like Zed run sort of thing, but wow, this actually I love the idea, but this entire landing page makes me not want to do anything with it. I'm literally just going to get DM'd a million things.
Look at this. You have to
see this image. See this image.
Now they're breaking my heart, man. They could have just done something normal. The year is 2007. Listen to this compelling pitch. My God. Ratatouille, bro. What the hell are you talking about?
It's true. It's true.
Global leaderboards, on-chain roster management, dynamic marketing pricing, and real-time box office scoring. Yeah, this just seems weirdly positioned. Well, let's see how it goes. I look forward to the marketing emails that I am now going to be getting. All right. Important news. And I kind of feel bad bringing it up at the end here because I think there's some people listening still. Yeah, we got a couple hundred people on with us. That's great. This is going to be our last show. Internet Explorers is going dark. We're working on something new, but you're not going to see us for a little while on this show. And instead, we're going to see you on chain or I guess Twitter for a little while. No more Internet Explorers. But for the diehards, the trues, we got something fun,
something better. Something better is coming.
We're cooking up. So thank you to everybody who's hung out with us every Friday here. We will not be back next Friday. We will purely be on the internet as human beings. And stay tuned for a tease of what comes next. Not right now, like in the future. We don't have a tease right now. Do we have a tease right now?
We don't have a tease right now.
No, but okay. I would have been so sick if you just dropped it.
I was like, ooh.
It wouldn't have been surprising.
Yeah. No, it wouldn't. I mean, there's probably 75 videos you have in your file folder that would have just worked there because they mean nothing. Just talk about nothing, but are cool. Yeah, we will not be back next Friday. We'll be back at some point with something new. So stay tuned. And thanks for hanging out with us so far. This is not goodbye forever. It's goodbye for now.
And episode number is this? Just to commemorate
81.
it? 81.
81. We did 81 nice episodes.
Nice number.
I think those episode numbers are going to look quaint pretty soon.
They are.
Through my bleary eyes, I'll look quaint.
11 a.m.
I was trying to do a dry run this morning, and I think I'm going to need to have coffee going take advantage of the automated.
You're going to need to start being like a 5 a.m. gym guy.
All right. I'm gonna have to shut you guys off here before we leak too much on the chat.
Oh, thanks, guys. See you on the internet.
Internet Explorers.